Cocoon Spawn Girls, Chapter 33. Dawn and Roxanne lay against the wall, cowering from the sightline of the moon. The strong hunters they were, up until recently, were now completely erased. It was horrifying to watch Declarna so easily dismantle everything that had once been. How long had these hunters been without having to feel fear? I know from personal experience just how vomit-inducing it is to be watched by the moon via Aurelia's ability. Those two must be completely unable to focus on trying to stand up against Declarna, forced into a constant survival mode as if the moon might attack at any instant. What was the strange portal-like apparition? Aurelia's voice came from it. Those lips were most likely hers. So it must have been a portal of some kind. But that only leaves me with more questions than before. I have to wonder what range it could have. Does that mean Aurelia is with someone close enough to activate their ability down here? How long has Declarna had access to that? I know the answer to that last one. The whole time. That meant she could have accessed Marzia this whole time, possibly. She told me all that stuff about the complicated communication method with Aurelia, all for it to just turn out that she had some sort of other method. I continue to be unable to look away as Declarna slowly makes her way over to where Dawn and Roxanne are curled up hiding. She walks with a sway in her step, her chains sliding across the ground, like snakes approaching their prey. "I'm sorry to have to cut our fun short here," Declarna begins. "I really do wish we could have gotten to talk longer." Two pairs of shaky eyes look up at her, sweat dripping down their faces. "We could talk about the old days, about what brought you to want to be magical girls, and other things about the before times these newbies can't ever imagine. But," Declarna sighed, "I mustn't play with my food. If anything were to go wrong here, I'd never hear the end of it from my associates." She looked up at me and Clarice after saying that, then returned to her guests. "We're gonna play doctor now," she said in an eerie tone. She produced a small object from her side. I leaned forward and squinted, but from this high up, I couldn't make out what it was besides that it was small and long. She ran her fingers along the length of it, examining its smoothness. "It's an orbidiclast," King muttered in a tone of disbelief. I didn't know what that was, but based on King's tone, I don't think I'm going to like it. "Just look at you. You're practically shaking," Declarna playfully teased as she began to take on the role of a caring doctor. "You must be just filled with stress and mental issues." Dawn's lips quivered as she looked up with a look of defiance. "You!" Oh dear," Declarna grinned. "This woman is infected with a bad temper and a dirty mouth. Clearly her mental disease has rotted her brain." She makes direct eye contact with Roxanne. "Now how can you ever hope to grow old gracefully?" She clapped her hands together with the small rod object in her hands. "Not to worry. I, Declarna, have here the greatest medical discovery of 1948. She shows them both the long, pick-like object. "This will help you both become more well-behaved and well-mannered. The perfect wives if you were ever to get out of here," she added on. She reached her hand out and grabbed onto Roxanne's hair, dragging her forward. This sudden jolt of pain helped her regain her senses enough to begin fighting back again, swinging a kick at her that nearly knocked her off her feet. "Nurse! Assistance!" she called out. Two small centipede-like spawn crawled out from a nearby wall. They were on her arms before she could even begin to fight them off, pinning her down to the ground. Roxanne continued to kick as Declarna took a seat on her chest, looking down at her. "Don't move too much. You wouldn't want me to mess up now, would you?" "Get off her!" Dawn screamed as she began to charge at them. The spawn in Declarna's dress jumped out and latched onto Dawn's face, knocking her back. She was scratching at it, trying to pry it off as Declarna continued her work. "This fun little procedure is called a transorbital lobotomy, a brilliant little thing invented to help calm the mentally insane." She raised the pick into the air over Roxanne. "First, we line up the pick." She held the long metal rod up above Roxanne's eyes. "And now I just carefully apply pressure as we slide this little guy behind your eye." Dawn was rolling around on the ground, losing to the spawn in her face. Then, two red-haired girls appeared, both chained down as well. They grabbed at the spawn, forming a large pile-up of Dawns trying to get the spawn off. Declarna raised a stone above the rod. "We have to do a little tapping now. Prepare yourself." She brought the stone down, cracking the rod down, breaking the bone behind the eye. Roxanne bit down on herself, Blood leaked from her mouth as she clenched down in pain on her own flesh. "Now is the easy part. Don't worry," Declarna continued her heartless teasing. "First, we go forward and get to the frontal lobe." The rod entered into her skull, digging into the brain inside. "And now," Declarna cracked a wide smile, "we move left and right, up and down. Say goodbye to the thalamus connection." Roxanne screamed as the rod moved around inside her head. The 2 centipede spawn pressed up on her head to keep it from turning away and messing anything up. The silence that suddenly overcame the events beneath us were enough to make anyone feel suddenly ill. All the screams stopped. There was just an empty silence before Declarna's chuckles broke it. "One down, 1 to go." She got up from on top of Roxanne. "Now where is patient 2? She walked over to where Dawn had ended up. She had tussled with the spawn until accidentally entering into the direct line of sight of the moon, once again pressing down on her with all of its attention. Declarna grabbed onto her leg and began to drag her along to where Roxanne was still lying. She positioned her right next to her partner, forcing her to look into those now empty, thoughtless eyes. All she could mutter was, "Why?" Declarna smiled. I know just how much she loves to talk. "Why? Because I need my 2 tools to be devoid of their own thoughts. You're both mine now. See?" Dawn shed tears. Tears unlike she had ever shed while being a girl. "Just..." She choked on her own mucus. "Kill us!" Declarna tisked. "Now why would I do that? With you and her, I'm infinitely more powerful. Her time reversal is mine to control, thanks to that device in her chest. And you..." She paused to smile. "I'm giddy just thinking about how wonderful of a gift you are, Dawn." Declarna took a seat on top of Dawn as the centipedes grabbed onto her arms to hold her in place. "I'm going to be using you and your clones to feed me and my spawn until the day you expire. And trust me, I'll be doing my best to keep your body alive, enough to feed my armies for as long as I can." She brushed her hand against Dawn's scared face. "I'm really doing you a favor. Not only do you get to play a part in my new world, but also I'm letting you not have to be fully conscious while I use you." Dawn looked up at her in horror. I could never wish that fate on anyone, even Dawn. "I won't," she muttered. "You won't what?" "Let you have me!" Dawn spit, causing Declarna to lean back on reflex. Suddenly 2 red-haired girls appeared, both with sharp bones in their hands, slashing them through the air, down into Dawn's head. Declarna didn't have time to react before the bones were already well lodged through Dawn's brain, blood pouring out from both wounds. "Huh," was all Declarna could muster in response. She sat there for a moment, watching Dawn bleed out, her eyes quickly going lifeless. I watched, wondering what Declarna's response would be. She still got one thing she wanted, right? She stood up and walked over to the corner. "Dusk, you may come back out." Sure enough, the clone spawn from before appeared. "Turn back time right before they killed her, please." The clone spawn bobbed its head, seeming to understand in some way. Suddenly it became as Declarna had asked for. She was once again on top of Dawn, as 2 redheads began their descent with sharp bones. Only this time the centipedes leaped up and knocked both attackers back, crashing into the wall. "Did you get that out of your system?" Declarna asked, a smug smile across her face. How dare you!" Dawn growled. "To have to see your best friend, your partner, used like that. I can't imagine." "No more playing. Time to operate." She slammed the rod down into Dawn's eye socket, slashing into the side of the eyeball as she reached the back. Dawn began to scream before the first tap had even happened. Tap, tap, tap. Swirl, 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 sloop. Just like that, the lobotomy was done. An icky metal rod slowly slid out from the skull with brain bits across it. Somehow, just like that, Artemis Bliss was gone. Someone who had caused us so much trouble, and they had been dealt with that easily. Declarna is truly someone I should watch out for. Dawn and Roxanne just lie there as Declarna began to wipe her hands off on small spawn with tiny chains. They both looked up at the ceiling, and although I'm not confident they are mentally capable anymore, I feel as if Dawn looked right at me. I don't know what these empty eyes are trying to tell me. If they're cursing me, or are they asking for the mercy of death? Even after everything, I can't stop myself from feeling bad for them. How can I ever think of returning to MGI after we've taken part in a lobotomy of 2 of the oldest magical girls? Sure, they seemed like sort of bad people, But did that mean they deserved this? I gripped onto the edge, and carefully gripping the wall, slowly began to descend down into B3. What are you doing, Sophia? Clarice was calling out to me, but I couldn't respond and continue my descent. By the time I made it down to the bottom, Declarna was standing below me, awaiting my revival. Hey, kid, nice haul, she greeted me. I touched down on the ground, immediately after going to my board to begin my question. That was Aurelia. I heard her. It was. Declarna didn't even try to hide the truth. Where is she? Tell me. She chuckled. Right to the point as always on this topic. She leaned her head to the side. I do wish I could say, like usual, I don't know where she is. But this time I do actually know where she is. I stopped my foot with a get to the point stare. Declarna made a face of annoyance. Sheesh. Yeah, I'm getting to it. She coughed, clearing her throat. You provide me with these two wonderful gifts, so it's only fair I pay you back with an answer. But, she paused for dramatic effect, there are two things you might want to know. The location from where Aurelia just spoke from, and also another piece of info you'll value that I know you don't know. Stop being cryptic. What is it you know? Well, it wouldn't really be a thing I know that you don't if I told you. Now would it? She chuckled. Fine. I won't play any games this time. 2 gifts, 2 answers. That sounds fair enough this time. Finally, we're getting somewhere. To answer your question, Aurelia is currently standing inside the castle of Dr. Agil. She is a guest of his at the moment at my request. Dr. Agil is how I could have a doorway opened for her to speak through. A doctor? Could he be with MGI? Surely not. Why would any MGI doctor be working with fallen magical girls? Something's very off here. But regardless, I need to know where he is. Where can I find this castle? I hold up. It's in one of the closest spawn dens to this location. I could show you on a map, but I think you'd have your hands full just trying to get there, while also still being hunted by MGI. Just make me a map, I insist. Fine, I don't really mind. Oh, but the other piece of info. I raise an eyebrow, ready for whatever dumb info she's laying on me. Your friend Tiki. She's about to be taken from beneath your nose. My heart stopped. Did I hear that right? Did she say Tiki? No. Tiki's rolling around in a meadow of fire. She's fine. But her old teammates are nearing her. They'll reach her before you can, even if you start running now. It's too late now. Declarna smiled that evil grin. My eyes dart upward to look at Clarice, but she had already taken off running. Good. She would surely make it in time. But if it was that close, what are we even supposed to do? Here, Declarna demanded my attention again. She holds out a map marked in... Is that blood? Seriously? Gross. She's so gross. I take the map while still rolling my eyes to show my annoyance and discomfort. That area has wild spawn, but nothing I don't think you can't handle. It's a doctor and his partner. You'll meet them, but they won't attack you or anything, she reassures me. If Aurelia's still there when you arrive, she might attack you, though. Never know with that girl, she chuckled. I wave her off, dismissing her as I tuck the wet map into my bag. Then I leap onto the wall and begin climbing out again. Bye-bye. See you if you live. My den is always open to you girls. Consider us a safe spot beside my wild spawn. Hee hee, she called out as I left. Once I was on solid ground again, I jumped into a sprint. I just hope I can catch up to Clarice, and maybe we can beat EGV to Tiki. End of chapter 33.